This week, we travel into a tome that takes us into the strange and supernatural world of Japanese horror with Panty Explosion. Lurking deep in the recesses of Japanese society are ancient horrors that feed on the minds, flesh, and fluids of men and women. These monstrous demons are spawned by the apathy, hate, lust, and avarice of the Japanese people, and wait only for the chance to enter our world and extend their frightful influence. These nightmare creatures operate in secret, often disguising themselves as average men and women to better prey on humankind. Fortunately, the Japanese people are not defenseless. For generations, rare psychic powers have manifested and troubled young women.
Okay, so I think right there...
Do you want me to, end that earlier?
No, I think you did perfectly.
Okay.
So, hi, and welcome to what is essentially the new Tome Travelers.
Yes.
So, we are...
The new Tome Travelers.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we're
going to be addressing books that are still available.
Well, it is still available, but you didn't have to call it. I mean, we're calling it by its no longer name. It's not Panty Explosion any longer.
It's no longer Panty Explosion. It's not technically Panty Explosion Perfect. It's pretty much known on the mass market now as Tokyo Brain Pop.
Which is a much better name.
Yes, by Atarashi Games. So this is, I kind of like this game. We've played it before a couple times.
I played it twice, yes.
You know, and I focus on the original book more and its story or feel to it with the original Panty Explosion. Mm-hmm. Now, the later game, Tokyo Brain Pop, which is the much more popular title, what I like still fits within that universe, but that, Tokyo Brain Pop is more the essential high school hijinks Japanese, game. Mm-hmm. And so, I focus more on the horror aspect of the original one.
Yeah.
That's just me. But so this game originally, the first iteration of it, Panty Explosion, was released in 2006. Things that came out in 2006. We have V for Vendetta. Mm-hmm. What is... for many guys, a pretty good movie. And
many guys?
Many guys.
Not women? Because I feel like I know women that like it. I've never seen it.
There are more than likely women that like it, but this is definitely... I feel like...
It has to do with Guy Fawkes and Bonfire Night, right? Or is it like a supernatural retelling of it or something?
It's a interesting movie that deals with a government that has become... fanatical in its approach to law and order, mm-hmm. and is basically led by, under the pretense of democracy, but is more of a fascist nation.
Right, okay.
The fear rules the day, fear mm-hmm. of all these things around it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one guy this somewhat superhero character who, I say it's one of those things because it's like, Monty Python and many other things. There's a certain level of maturity to the humor and other things that guys seem to be more drawn to it.
Oh, okay.
Because sometimes it can be a little bit juvenile. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, some of V for Vendetta was a little juvenile. So, mm-hmm. but I'm just being honest.
Right.
But other movies did come out that year. An Inconvenient Truth came out that year. That was a big blockbuster when it came out.
Was it?
It really was.
I didn't think it did that well. I thought it generated more jokes than it did.
It generated a lot of press. I mean, positive, negative. Al Gore, for a while there, was this kind of cult of personality figure across America. Whether you liked him or hated him, people talked about him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just didn't know if I don't know if I'd quantify that or qualify that as a blockbuster, but I don't know. I'd have to see the numbers.
If it moved pop culture, I think that it does, but that's just me. The Devil Wears Prada came out that year. Mm-hmm. I actually like that movie quite a bit.
I've only seen part of it once.
The new Casino Royale James Bond came out.
Never. I haven't seen any James Bond movies except for one or two of the Sean Connery ones.
Yeah. But so there's some movies right there give you an idea that the time period.
Gives you an idea of movies that I've never seen.
Well, here's some music that you might know. How about Shakira's "Hips Don't Lie"?
Never heard it.
Oh my goodness.
No, I don't like. I had probably, I guess, 2006. I guess I'd already started my quest to not keep up with what's popular.
And yet you could probably pass Jenna Marble's little thing of is it Shakira, Cher, or...
Oh, probably, because I know what Shakira sounds like, but I couldn't even sing a bar of "Hips Don't Lie." I don't know any of it.
How about Justin Timberlake's "Sexy Back"?
Now I know that song. Ugh.
Okay, now here's one that came out in this year, but did not get popular for almost 8 years. OK Go's "Here We Go Again."
Well, you have down there that OK goes viral.
Well,
it got popular in 2006.
It came out in 2006, but it did not. The YouTube did not become like the viral. The YouTube video of them on the treadmill did not go viral as a hit for several years later.
Well, then why do you have that it goes viral there?
Because that was me miswriting.
Are you sure?
I am. I actually have the article pulled up right here. OK Go was released in, let me see, where is it? You asked me to prove. September 25th, 2006 is when it came out. And the video on YouTube, which featured them dancing, where did you go? The music video came out. It has 39, it was in July 31st, 2006. It was in March 2010 that it had been viewed over 50 million times.
Yeah, but viral only needs 1 million views.
Well,
so I appreciate
and the music video. Okay, it won the Grammy in 2007. So yeah, if it won a Grammy, it did. It was popular. Yeah.
Give it a rest.
Okay, that's my bad.
We're going to go ahead and say that it went viral in 2006 because that was the treadmill video.
That was the treadmill video. And
again, I couldn't tell you any of OK Go's music.
Talking about YouTube though, that was also the year that Google bought YouTube. Disastrous year for some of our friends.
2006?
2006 was the year Google buys YouTube for $1.6 billion. And
I guess YouTube was around. I was trying to think. I didn't think YouTube was around that long, but yeah. YouTube. I remember the first time I heard about YouTube, I was still working up north.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Here's two that would... I picked out these two definitely for you. Nintendo's Wii was released in 2006.
Did I buy it that year? I'm trying to think.
I don't know.
I might have.
So that came out. I know you love your Wii.
No. I was still working up north in 2006. I have my years all wacky dude. I was still working up north. So no, I didn't buy my Wii until 2009 or 10. But
yep.
That's cool.
How about the original premiere of Top Chef?
No, I've never watched Top Chef.
But we watch Top Chef Kids, don't we?
No, we don't. We watch Master Chef.
Oh, okay.
Get with it. I watch Gordon Ramsay.
There we go. That's why. Okay.
Gordon Ramsay.
I look up these facts to try and, find
to impress
something.
me, and it just doesn't.
And it falls flat. I know that we watch a chef show together. So, and I know Gordon Ramsay's the host.
Yeah, but I don't think Gordon Ramsay's the host of Top Chef, is he?
No, I don't know what Top Chef is then. Oh, well. But so, Atarashi Games, which, this was put out quite a while back. I mean, this is, when you look at this book, I'm going to pass you a copy. We actually have two copies of this game.
Graham Elliott is apparently one of the judges at some point, and Graham Elliott has been on MasterChef, both adult and junior.
Okay. But there's the Panty Explosion logo right there. You can see the artwork, and the name on the artwork on the front cover is J. Richmond. If you look at the authorship of the book, you also see that it was authored by Jake Richmond. Mm-hmm. So he actually, very smart, provided the artwork for his own book. He was the only artist for this book.
Yep.
So the way
talented people.
Yeah. Way to cut back on costs there. And but a lot of people, Jake Richmond, he is a good graphic artist. Nowadays, he's well regarded in the webcomic, fantasy and comedy, communities. He is the writer for Modest Medusa, which I really enjoyed. When it first came out, I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like, here's a slice of my life with a Medusa. I kind of liked that kind of atmosphere to it. It's like, here's something that actually happened to me with a Medusa. I'm going to add that with a Medusa to these things that are somewhat innocuous, but I liked it. He also wrote a superhero book that was called Ghost Kiss, and Airbender fan comic that is well regarded, known as Asami Loves Korra, which is for the other Airbender, the second iteration of the Airbender series from Nickelodeon, which I kind of like the Airbender series. I've always enjoyed those.
I've never seen it. That's going to be the name of this episode. Roxy's never seen it. Or heard it, apparently.
But he continues to release stuff, though, on Drive-Thru Comics and Drive-Thru RPG. So you can find all that material out there right now on the web. So, Panty Explosion, which we're going to get away from this word here pretty soon, probably. It's a semi-self-aware pop cultural game because, the entire title is, kind of a joke because the game has absolutely nothing to do with panties or explosions. Mm-hmm. You have no powers, no nothing. Nothing in this game refers to panties. And any explosions in the game only occur as a byproduct of maybe a psychic power or something like that actually taking place, or some innocuous event. It has no game mechanic or description therein of the book. It draws the original game kind of drew its image from teen horror and bizarre movies that got really popular here in America too. Cell, Ju-On, also known as The Grudge, One Missed Call, Pulse, The Ring.
I can't believe you put The Ring last.
Wasn't
that like one of the first ones?
That is probably one of the first ones that got super super popular in the U.S. And you've seen it.
That I've seen.
That you have seen.
I've seen maybe 2 of them.
Yeah. And I remember, I don't remember if it was the MTV Awards or the Nickelodeon Awards, where the girl who played the character in the American version of The Ring was on stage. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember when that happened. I remember when the American one came out. Now, I have seen One Missed Call, the Japanese version, and I have seen Ringu. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
One Missed Call is bizarre. And I think I've seen The Grudge, or Ju-On. I think I've seen it.
Ju-On. Well. There's much like many of these movies, there's the Japanese version, and then there was the version in the case of The Grudge with Sarah Michelle Gellar. So
yeah, I know I've seen that. It was
It creeps me out. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that sound. Freaky movies. I think the Japanese do horror really well. And I've loved Japanese cinema of that vein. And, I feel like that was the atmosphere that this game came out in. He put out a couple books that were editions, like Classroom Deathmatch, which is...
Battle Royale?
Battle Royale, exactly.
Or Assassination Classroom?
Yeah, Assassination Classroom. It is, if you've ever, it's based on the Japanese horror novel and movie Battle Royale. Mm-hmm. It's said to be the origin of concepts for games or for popular things such as the Hunger Games, where students are selected from across the country to perform in a death match by a government where, obviously it's death match. They try to kill each other, and the players take on the roles of the hapless students.
Mm-hmm. Do you not have all these other anime RPG games?
No, because some of them, quite frankly, scare me.
Maid RPG?
Maid RPG is a game
Cannibal Contagion.
Yeah, Maid RPG is a game that we will only discuss in this, brief moment of this show, because there are games out there that RPG games that even I will try to steer clear of.
Oh, Heathers was one of the influences.
Mm-hmm. Well,
for Classroom Deathmatch. I haven't seen Heathers in years, but I know Amanda liked that movie.
Mm-hmm. It's it definitely is a unique movie, and I enjoy Christian Slater in that, and the maniacal guy convincing people to kill their classmates. But so this game, this was the original iteration of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now later on, it came out as Panty Explosion Perfect. They updated the rules, dropped some stereotypes from the books and descriptions of characters for a quicker game style. They didn't really care about what your character's blood type was anymore, or your zodiac descriptions to disguise or decide parts of your character creation process.
I will say the blood type and stuff makes sense looking at the character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's supposed to be your school record.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are things that are included sometimes in your school record.
It is, but reading further in the book, you'll actually see like blood type A, B, O, A, B. This is a part of the history. I mean, it's one of those things where they believe that your blood type could decide your personality. Mm-hmm. Now we know that's not true, but that was a very popular thing.
It's in here.
I believe it is in that iteration of Panty Explosion. It's why, like if you've ever played Street Fighter 2, why they talk about this is the hero that you're playing is blood type, so you could also understand who their personality was. I mean, this was a thing that people believed, and some people may still believe.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to know. This is like, although I see a typo in the table of contents, so for shame.
Yeah.
So determining blood type.
Mm-hmm.
Type A are often calm, composed, serious, reliable, trustworthy, perfectionists, and tend to suppress their emotions. They can be shy, arrogant, and sensitive. Type A's are the most artistic of the blood groups. Type A claims more of the Japanese population, than any other blood type.
Mm-hmm.
Suggested traits for Type A students are able to admit when she is wrong, has never had an embarrassing outburst, people know they can rely on her, has won awards for her tanka poetry, or rarely gets close enough to anyone to truly be hurt. Type B are goal-oriented individualists. They are curious, bright, cheerful, enthusiastic, superficial, blah, blah, blah. Type O is carefree, generous, independent, flexible, clumsy, and sometimes flighty. Type AB is considered to be the least desirable blood type because it indicates a divided personality. Well, I am Type A.
Yeah.
By biology.
Mm-hmm.
So I just find that interesting. This is like one of those Facebook tests. What does your blood type say about you?
But this is something that people actually believed.
Apparently says that I have won awards for my tanka poetry.
Awesome.
I don't even know what that is.
Congratulations.
I don't even know what that is.
It was an award so secret, not even you knew about it.
What is tanka poetry?
I have no clue.
I'm surprised you don't know.
There are those moments where, outside of just generally being able to talk well, there's something I don't know. So,
talk well.
It's kind of like Zoolander. For kids who can't talk good and other stuff.
Tanka poetry is similar to a haiku, but has 2 additional lines.
Oh, well, now
it's also known as a waka or uta.
Sweet.
So,
and I've learned something.
I stink at haikus as well. So I'm not winning any awards, but I can admit when I'm wrong, as long as there are no grave consequences. Otherwise, I'm blaming everybody else.
But so they updated the rules. They dropped all those things. And the game shifted from horror high elements more towards a general rule setting for any genre. So you could basically play anything you could imagine that dealt with high school in Japan in this setting. You had this opportunity to basically, whatever you could imagine. I mean, it's almost an anime-like role.
Well, that's how they describe it.
Yeah.
They describe it as an anime game, or at least when they talk about in classroom deathmatch, they refer to it. Now, Panty Explosion is exclusively girls.
Yes, it is.
I mean, the tagline on the cover is a psychic schoolgirl adventure game.
Yeah. Now they've also dropped that in later editions.
Okay. Well, classroom. Gosh, I can't speak today. Classroom deathmatch is definitely not just girls.
No, it's not. It moves. There are boys in it. There's actually a pre-listed amount of students. You have to download the other product from DriveThru RPG, and it gives you a map of the island, a list of students, and it basically lays out the map, tells you who's going to die in what areas, because you're not going to interact with all the characters. I mean, there's 30 characters all over the island trying to kill each other. But that's, that came out with the first edition. Second edition was Panty Explosion Perfect. And then we move into the final version, which was Tokyo Brain Pop, released in 2013.
Yeah. And, well, we have played, I call it Tokyo Brain Pop.
Just because it's much more...
Because I prefer it over Panty Explosion.
Yeah, because it sounds a little... It could sound a little bit...
crude?
Crude, misogynistic.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know. I guess there was a time when that was acceptable, generally.
Yeah.
As a way to get people to look twice, but it really shouldn't have ever been.
Well, Jake Richmond, when he released Tokyo Brain Pop, he actually wrote about this. And what he said was, to quote him, "While a lot of people enjoy Panty Explosion Perfect as it is, over the years, lots of other people have told us they just don't like the name of our game. In some cases, it's kept people from trying the game or sharing it with friends. So now we've decided to make the same game available under a different name. Now everyone can have the version of our game that they prefer."
Yeah. So if you don't care that it's called Panty Explosion, you can have as many Panty Explosion books on your shelf as you want. But if you have an issue with that, or you're trying to clean it up a little bit on the cover, which the cover is not inappropriate at all. It's just seriously, it's just the name. But if you have, younger children because we've played it with my nephew. My nephew is 11. We called it Tokyo Brain Pop.
Yes, we did.
Because we're not about to get into, the giggle fest that Panty Explosion would incite. So, but yeah, we've played it recently, and we had a really good time.
Yeah. And, I like the game. I like the game. It's simple. It's fun. I kind of run it more as a party-style game, trying to draw more of a enjoyable element into it that, people draw from buckets for locations and situations. And that's it. I would say that might be one of the high-energy games that I run. Mm-hmm.
We had a good, and you guys will get to hear that hopefully soon. We did record that for a show, so we had a lot of fun. Now, did we use the Gonzo bucket?
I don't think we used the Gonzo bucket in... actually,
I think
we did. We did use the Gonzo bucket. Because
I think we all liked the Gonzo bucket idea. So that is a John rule.
Yeah. For my party game with this, I add I add two things. I add a location bucket and a Gonzo bucket. The location bucket, I let players write down locations of places where scenes can take place within the game. Because this is also a cinematic style game. Mm-hmm. So tell me a location. We draw randomly from the bucket, and we pull it out, and it has to be a location where you can imagine something happening for your character, or someplace that your character would go to.
Yeah.
And it allows some freedom. With the story, because sometimes you'll have that fade to black, and then they're in another part of the building, or they're at someplace else. They were
all the time.
First a moment ago they were up on top of the building of their high school having a meeting. And the next thing you know, they're in a coffee shop instead talking about something else.
Well, yeah, I mean, thinking of the animes that I've watched, I have no idea the layout of some of these places that they're in, and they take place on one campus. Yeah. It's just like suddenly they're there.
Now, as far as the Gonzo bucket, Gonzo has stood for a lot of different things over the years. But for me, Gonzo, I refer to it
Muppet.
There's a great Muppet. There are really bad filmmakers in the 90s from America, but it is also highly tied to strange and bizarre movies in Japan for the last 20, 30 years. Gonzo Studios, Takahashi Miike, a few of his films have come out through Gonzo.
The definition of Gonzo is of or associated with journalistic writing of an exaggerated, subjective, and fictionalized style. So It's just a bizarre and
Yeah.
crazy. It's a simple way to go over the top.
But if you ever have seen a Takahashi Miike film or other films that have to do with, the concept of gonzo, it's like very bizarre situations occur, completely breaking the flow of the movie. And I let people pull from the gonzo bucket if they have failed a roll. Mm-hmm. You can pull from the gonzo bucket and have the opportunity for a re-roll. It allows for some creativity, allows for some weirdness to enter the game that is perfect for Japanese cinema of this type. Mm-hmm. And so, completely odd rule that I toss into these games to make them even more fun.
Yeah, but it does make them, it makes them really good. So, I mean, you don't, obviously those are not part of the rules, but no. I do think they add something to it. And
feel free, if you like this idea and you like this game, feel free to add it at your next table. This is not something I own, copyrighted, or anything. I feel like RPGs at your table, find a way to involve people, because the game is the vehicle.
Yeah.
So, so the game has changed over years with different dice, different, mechanics. The common mechanic that the game uses is a series of 5 elements, known as the Godai, also tied to Miyamoto Musashi's Book of 5 Rings. And so the 5 elements that, if you've ever played Legend of 5 Rings or any of these other things, you know of. And the characters have strength ratings in them. And from there, those strength ratings create a dice pool. Some of the other elements of this game are instead very simplistic. Maybe instead of the dice pool version of Panty Explosion, you go with one of the other editions, and instead you have a single dice. And depending on how well you roll that dice, you have a threshold, depending on your place within your group's hierarchy. Like if you are a standard student in your class, you need to roll a 4 or better. Mm-hmm. If you are, and I think this is on a 6-sided dice in this version, mm-hmm. you roll a 4 or better. And if you are not the popular kid in class, or if you are the unpopular kid, you have to roll a 5 or better. But if you're the most popular kid in class, you have to roll a 3 or better. In each scene, they choose who's the most popular person after the last scene. So, which also gives a way to
that's how
improve.
We did it.
Yeah, that's the version that we did, and it kind of gives that impetus to participate. If you want to be able to roll better, participate, get out there, play your character, mm-hmm. and so I like that. And that's it. This is the way it is. But no, so Jake Richmond is the force behind these books. Atarashi Games, he's pretty much the force behind it. He's put out I think he just put out a new title recently that's different. But you have now his Tokyo Brain Pop, which is in his new style of art. It's in the style of it's in the style of his webcomics, mm-hmm. which, seen here. I mean, you've seen on some of the character sheets we've used before. It's much more approachable.
Yeah, definitely.
While the original version really had the kind of almost morose feel to it that I kind of like in my games, the new ones are much more approachable. People really enjoy it. I like this product. Mm-hmm. In any of its iterations. I mean, obviously, we've had an opportunity to play it with an 11-year-old. We've also had 2 tables. I've done 2 tables prior where it's, mature adults. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean I was making mature situations other than what we did. I'm not an adult role player, as in adult theater. No. But I do like my horror elements in a game.
Right. And ours had some spooky stuff, but it was pretty tame. Overall, because we had an 11-year-old, and then we also had his grandmother at the table.
Yeah.
So it was a varied table, but we had a lot of fun, and it really gave us a vehicle to do a whole lot with mm-hmm. characters that we wouldn't normally do.
And I think that because of how simplistic, that game is, the newest editions, the minimalized rules of the new versions of Tokyo Brain Pop, you can tell a better story.
Yeah.
Because you have less things governing what your characters can do. I mean, I would put this in simplistic to the same level as Dread. Now, while Dread has the whole mechanic that builds, you're taking apart a tower, and every time you do it, it's going to get harder and harder and harder. Mm-hmm. This is a little bit simpler, but it's the same style of narrative, I feel.
Right, okay.
Now, the big thing with this is that it's still around. Atarashi Games still exists. Now, I don't want to say like this is a game studio. This is not like a building you go to and, or a place that is looking for artists and people to work out of all the time.
Yeah.
But it's basically Jake Richmond. The artist himself and the writer himself is still out there providing new content and operating a store online through Drive-Thru RPG. Mm-hmm. Which I think is great.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Can find some of his new games and new stuff out there. I believe there's a new game out there which is based on the magical land of Yeld, which is the world that his game Modest Medusa ends up going into.
Is his game? Is it a game or a comic? You said Modest Medusa was a comic.
So he's put out a book for it, and he's also put out a book called Mermaid Hunters, and he just did a Kickstarter, which did fund for one that is set at a boys' academy, which is more of a European-style boys' academy-style game.
Right.
So, but like I've said before, he operates a Patreon page. And you can go out there and you can still interact with him. This is a game that is still available. And I think people ought to give it a try in the new iterations.
Yeah, especially, like I said, if Panty Explosion is a turnoff for you as far as something that you might want to avoid at your table or with your gaming group, definitely pick up Tokyo Brain Pop because it's the same game.
Same game.
Same guts, different cover.
Yeah. And I will say this, in years recently, games that are the Japanese anime or Japanese horror or any of these games, it's hard to know if there's a good one out there. Mm-hmm. There's one that accomplishes what you need. And I will say that Tokyo Brain Pop does that. Mm-hmm. It accomplishes what you need. As a storyteller and as a player, it gives you some good guts to work with.
Yeah.
So
I would definitely agree with that. Because I know we took some examples out of the book for some of our character builds. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of fun with mine, and I know mine came straight out of the book. So, really, really pleased with that. Absolutely.
So, we are going to be moving on here pretty soon. Our next show, I'm going to go ahead and announce that one. But we will be joined by someone, hopefully, and we're going to be talking about another game similar in vein, but hasn't been seen in a while. We're going to be talking about Besom in our next episode. So hopefully you will come back and listen to that one. We just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to check out our Patreon and our website.
Sounds good.
All right.
We'll see y'all next time. Thank you for listening to Tome Travelers from Passion Nerdly, a proud part of the Nerds Domain. For more information about us, check out www.passionnerdly.com, and you can follow @PassionNerdly on Twitter and Instagram, as well as Facebook.com/PassionNerdly. Shirts available through tpublic.com/NerdsDomain, and please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/PassionNerdly.
This has been a production of the Southgate Media Group. For more podcasts like this one, head over to southgatemediagroup.com.